I get to be. She's just going to have to be mute, which is probably the first time in a very long time that Taylor has been mute. Now, there are some birds and an insect that have just flown past me on... Are they going to go further? I'm just trying to see if they're going to land. No, they've flown too far, but there were some Rhett's helmet shrikes that were flying behind me, and I was hoping that they would land fairly close, that I could show you them, because they're not a bird that we get to put on camera that often as well. And always when there's Rhett's helmet shrikes, it's good just to look around and double check and make sure that there isn't a thick-billed cuckoo lurking, because thick-billed cuckoos do follow the Rhett's around, and we know that they do parasitize Rhett's helmet shrikes. And so I've been challenged by Graham to try and find a thick-billed cuckoo, so hopefully one of these days I will get one somewhere along the line. Now, talking about cuckoos as well, since we're on a bird themed drive today, I am going to go to Chitwa, and I'm going to see if I cannot get that pesky classes cuckoo at Chitwa, because it calls every time I'm there, and every time I can't manage to find it. So I'm going to head there and try my very best to get a classes cuckoo on camera this afternoon. That's, I think, what my plan is. I know Chitwa Dam is very distracting and lots goes on there, but I'm going to try as hard as I can to find one of them in that area. They're tough to see, particularly now with the marulas with a bit of green vegetation, because they often sit in marulas and in these bush willows, and their coloration blends in so well. It's quite difficult to actually find them, and the best way to do it is via their call. So if you hear, you know, that telltale Mikey sound, because when they call they say Mikey, and then you kind of follow that and hopefully find the cuckoo. It's not always the case, but sometimes you get it right. Now, I've been waffling so much about birds and kind of what I think each crew member should be, that I haven't really been watching the road for tracks, and it's probably a road that I should be paying attention on. This boundary road is a thoroughfare for a lot of our animals, and so I really should be paying a lot more attention than what I currently am. So I shall try to be better from now on, although we've gone past every single road that comes out of Djuma bar the fire break, so I've kind of missed the boat a little bit. There goes our elephant tracks off into Torchwood, but we're not far from Chitwa, so I think they might cut back towards Chitwa side. It looks like for a bull elephant, and hopefully we'll pick it up at Chitwa Dam itself, going for a swim. Ooh, James Richard, you want to know which bird species I think has the best breeding plumage? I think, just trying to think about which one I would go for if I was, I think probably the widers. Now, we get different species of widers, and the only reason I say the widers is because of the change that they go through. Their plumage change is huge, and they've got a lot of kind of sort of feathers that get added, colors that get added, and they go very different to what they normally appear. So I'll show you what I mean now. Come on, widers, where are you? I know you're here. Right, so no, not this particular wider. These widers is the ones I'm looking for. Now, this is the widers when they are in sort of non-breeding phases. I think let's go to the paradise wider, the long-tailed paradise wider. This is what the male looks like outside of breeding phases, and he then goes from that to this beautiful bird with the oranges and the reds and this long broad tail that comes down. Both the broad-tailed and the long-tailed paradise wider have this change from this drab bird into those colors. So I think for me, those are the ones that have the most extreme breeding plumage here in this particular area that we see. I mean, we do see this paradise wider. We used to see them down on Cheetah Plains every now and then. We also get the shaft-tailed wider and the pin-tailed widers, and they also go through a massive change. But I mean, look at that tail that comes out, and to think that that comes every year. So they go from kind of drab in the winter to that prolific bright colors, long tails, is pretty spectacular. So for me, those are the ones that I think. I mean, everybody will be different, and I'm sure some of the other guys have some other feelings on this, but for me, those ones are it. Right, now, the one who started the whole bird trend for the day is Scotty D, and well, I think he's still out birding. He seems as though he's gotten birds on the brain the last few days, and I wonder what he's got up his sleeve now.
Yes, sadly I haven't had much to contribute since my strong start. Well, I thought it was a strong start with the old bird watching, but we have arrived. We've just arrived, and now we're going to cruise along the side of this forest, which will go right up to the banks of the Mara River. and who knows what avian friends are waiting for us here. Haven't spent much time here actually, so... Ooh, there's a cuckoo flying. Oh, it's still flying. And it's still flying. And it's still flying. Will it land? It's disappeared behind a bush. No, it is gone. But there was a cuckoo of sorts. They're quite a raptor-like bird. It looks like a small kind of goshawk flying around, I find. That guy wasn't sticking around to be ID'd though, sadly. Now, even though we are bird watching, there's a chance we could bump into some big male lions here. The Triangle Boys, of which there are 3, like to spend a lot of time lounging in this open kind of swampy area on our right. Hello, card something? You would like to know if I've noticed any changes in bird calls between the Sabi Sands and the Mara. And no, I haven't noticed any changes in calls here. Cardinal, sorry I didn't get your name right, I didn't hear it clearly, but now I've got it. But I did notice a definite difference between the pearl-spotted owlets up in Samburu compared to those down in South Africa. The call was similar, but noticeably different. So I'd love to try and reenact it for you, but it's going to be tricky. Oh, now we're going to get to do some spying. What is going on with these 2 clowns? You see, it doesn't even look like they know what they're doing. Shame. No joy. Oh well. You can see they've clearly got the same idea as me with an area to go bird watching. I wonder what the problem could have been there. Interesting. They seem to be just checking that their back rain flap was properly secured. Anyway. Something like a little bit of spying safari. Or maybe we'll need to go and give them a hand, rescue them. Oh no, we've got a bit of a disaster, but we're gonna send you. Let's go and find out exactly what's going on. Let's go and chat with them. See what could be happening. I've got a feeling they may have sabotaged their vehicles so as to get off work early. That's what my money's on. Dave was out there in the back pulling a cable out to lose broadcast. Only kidding. Sadly, it is Dave's last evening in the Mara. He's heading off on leave tomorrow, as is Chantel. And much needed break for both of them. Alice just got back into camp today. And well, there's going to be a few more comings and goings in the next few weeks. But nobody's going for good. We always need to clear that up whenever we say people are going away. Next thing, a message goes wildfire about people leaving for good. Taylor seems to be doing some kind of a hitchhiking dance move up ahead there. We might have to give Dave an impromptu interview as to his favorite moments or something along those lines. It's always fun to allow one cameraman to gun in on another, and it sounds like their broadcast may have gone down, so Dave can't film Jahawi, Jahawi can film Dave. Hello guys, we caught you sabotaging the equipment. We saw you digging in the back there, pulling cables, yes.
Did you get Darby cutting the red wire, not the green wire?
No, we missed that, but it's good that you're honest. Darby, We've got a nice full shot of you. We would like to know what was your highlight here in the Mara, seeing it as this is your last afternoon.
Getting lost amongst the migration, buddy.
Good. Good, that's a good one. And also getting lost with Chantal a few days ago. We'll throw that in there as well. Chantal and Dave went on a run yesterday. They were supposed to go on a 5 or 6 kilometer run. They got back 18.5 kilometers later with tired legs. Taylor, welcome. Thank you. Yes, I would love to. I would love to take you on a drive. Sorry. Anyway, at least you get to ride on mine for now. Must I turn or?
I think it's the crocodile bar.
Oh, interesting. So we should try our best not to agitate them.
Back of the car is see that notch in the tree?
Yeah, the low one. Yeah. Okay. Let me creep forward a bit. Stay where you are. Oh, well spotted, Taylor McCurdy. How on earth did you?
I was trying to identify the tree.
Okay, we're going to try and find this beehive and rush you off to Tristan, who's found an owl.
I do indeed. So we have a little scops owl that's sitting on its branch, looking as camouflaged as camouflage could be, and it is so difficult to spot it because it's sitting with the light right behind it, and so if you look towards where that is, it's very difficult to see. If it wasn't for the fact that it let out a little call as we came past, I doubt we would have spotted it at all. But how good is that camouflage? Look at the coloration in comparison to the branch next to it, and this is a typical scops owl maneuver, is that they'll sit right up against a stump or a branch, and they try and then camouflage themselves right against it so that they blend in, that other birds don't sort of harass them during the day, and also other predators. At the end of the day, they're a small owl, they're not very, very big at all, and so you'll get things like Wahlberg's eagles, or those lesser spotted eagles that are bird hunters specifically that would go after owls like that. So you can see the camouflage is incredibly good, and we've positioned ourselves in a way that we can have a good angle on it. But generally, if you're just driving along, I mean, that looks just like part of the tree. It's very difficult to see this little owl sitting there, and I'm absolutely thrilled at the amount of owls that we've been able to see over the last few months. We've had the best time. We've had lots of great sightings. You can see a bit of a spider web actually that's kind of coming past the owl's ear. But it's having a really good nap, so its eyes are closed. It's not in any way perturbed by us at all, and it's just resting and waiting for that sun slowly but surely to start setting. Now, scops owls are fairly active birds through the night. You'll hear them calling throughout the night, but I find that their period of activity is just after that sun is set and just before the sun rises, that you really kind of hear them and you see them moving around quite a bit. So that's why it's resting now, is it's just waiting for that heat to go down, for the sun to go down, when it can then start coming to its own and start to move around. Now you'll notice with this particular owl, it's different to the pearl-spotted owlet or the barred owlet. Even though it's a very similar size, it has the ear tufts that those two birds don't have. So the barred and the pearl-spotted both have rounded heads, whereas this has got little feathers that come up that look just like ears, and then it's got that kind of long facial disc and that beak that then comes down. And this bird will be a hunter of small mice, geckos, lizards, small birds even. So it has quite a varied array of food items, but things like that bushveld gerbil that Taylor saw would be high up on that list of food items. And you see it just woke up, and they've got beautiful yellow eyes, these guys. I like scops owls, and there's something about them that always makes me kind of nostalgic. The reason why is because when I was younger and I spent time with my grandparents in the Kruger Park areas, we always used to go past a camp in the Kruger called Satara, and Satara is in the central parts of the Kruger, and it's got a little scops owl that lives there, and that little scops owl calls. And my grandfather used to take my brother and I, when we were still kids and small, and he'd take us on this little adventure to try and go and find this little scops owl and try and kind of go and look for it. And we used to take a torch and we'd listen out for it, and it was really very cool to do. It's just one of those kind of childhood memories that we have. Now, I believe a lot of you are commenting on the camouflage of this particular bird. It is really unbelievable, and you can see why it's so easy to drive past them. There are lots of scops owls out here. We have a lot of them in this area, particularly around quarantine. We find a lot at Inga's, a lot on quarantine itself, but they just blend in so well that unless they make a noise that alerts you to their presence in that area, you can just drive past them without without even knowing. Obviously, some of them will also go into holes in trees, and that will allow for them to camouflage even better. But I mean, this bird, like I say, if it wasn't for the fact that it called, well, there's no ways we would have spotted it at all. But we're going to leave our little owl to itself. I want to come back to it a little bit later when the sun's slightly lower, because it's going to be beautiful when that sun gets down, because it's going to have a nice orange kind of tone to it behind it, and I think it'll be beautiful if we come a little bit later. Now, Scott was on a mission to go and find buzzy little bees, and well, it sounds like he's managed to get into the act and has managed to actually find them, which is super interesting and super cool, and I hope that you'll enjoy the beautiful bees.
I cannot believe that Taylor's ranger, aka Askari, managed to spot this beehive nestled in one of the knots of this massive tree. What's also interesting is how this tree has fallen over. You can see the fruits were almost ripe, leaves are still green, but this massive, massive tree has, in all likelihood, I think it would have been blown over in some strong winds. I don't think anything else could have caused the tree to break down. Now, what effects that's going to have on this beehive is that it's going to be far easier for animals like honey badgers or any animals that will, I guess honey badger is one of the main animals that plunder beehives, will be able to get access to it. So they seem to still be going about their business as normal. Quite sad, though, that their house has fallen over. Probably had to readjust the furniture in there now that they're lying horizontally as opposed to vertically. Now, while the bees are busy doing their business, Taylor and Dave are doing theirs. They are throwing the fruits of this tree at one another. Did you catch it? Good catch. Good catch. They're giving one another highballs to go for. And another one. Taylor, you're very sporty. Sporty Spice. Taylor McCurdy. Okay. AB, you would like to know what is the fruit on this tree? I don't know what the tree is. Taylor seems to think it's a Diospirus something else. Also known as possibly a crocodile bark tree, but I'm not too sure what it is, sadly. The fruits kind of look a little bit similar to marula fruits. Not as big, but it's definitely not a marula tree. So sadly I can't help you with the exact name of this tree and therefore fruit, but I can send you off to Tristan, who has found a crocodile.
I have found a crocodile and some hippos. They're all out together. It's quite strange. I wouldn't expect to see the hippo out at this time of the day. It's still very warm, but it's really just nice to see the difference between the sizes of crocodiles and hippos in this area. That's a young, it's not a very big hippo. It seems like it's a young male, and then it looks like it's Boris that is out. It could be Vlad. I can't see nicely the tail. One of them's got a shortened tail, and so if you guys can see what size the tail is, then we'll be, well, whether the tail is whole, then we'll be able to tell who it is. But you can see it's got its mouth open, which is very common for a crocodile in the hot weather or when the sun comes out. It's just a way of regulating their temperature. So very similar to birds. When birds open their mouth and they practice what we call gula flutter, so it's basically like panting in reptiles and in birds. I don't think that this crocodile was doing it too much prior to the hippo coming out. I think the reason it at one point opened its mouth was almost as a way of showing the hippo, I'm here and I've got teeth, leave me alone, don't come and chase me. Because it was fast asleep, mouth was closed, but it... The hippo is saying to me, yes, we know the crocodile was there. Such a cool sound. Very, very cool when we get to hear these guys calling. I love listening to the hippos at Chitwa Dam, and it's great to see one of the crocs out after the last few days with cooler weather. The crocs have all been kind of in the water. It's been warmer in the water than out on the bank, and so nice for them to come out and warm up and actually start to get moving. But the problem with that is that obviously they can't control their body temperature, so they can't perspire, and this is how they do it, is by opening their mouth and causing evaporation. Now the hippo says to the croc, what you can do, I can do better. How cool is that? Screenshots, if you like them, is very, very cool for that moment right there. Hippo with the yawn, croc with its mouth open, and you can see how big a hippo is. That is not a small crocodile in any way whatsoever, but the mouth of a hippo is just absolutely massive in comparison to the crocodile. That was so cool. I don't think I've ever seen the two of them kind of lined up like that, sort of with mouths open as well as that one is. Now, I did spot a bird that I wanted to show you, but I think it's flown off, unfortunately. There was a pied kingfisher around, but it seems as though it's gone. It was in that tree over there where Senzo is pointing, but I think, is it not on the bottom left side there, Senzo? Right at the bottom left of the tree, on the back side of the tree, it looks like there might be a pied kingfisher. I don't know. So kookaburra is not the same as a kingfisher. Since if we can just go to the left for me, more to the left, onto the other side of the tree, so the back side. So there it is. There's our pied kingfisher. So kookaburra is not another name for a kingfisher. A kookaburra is a bird that occurs in Australia, and it looks very similar to kingfishers in a lot of ways, but it is not a kingfisher. It's not part of the African kingfishers in any way. Our kingfishers are not referred to as kookaburras. They are purely kingfishers. Now, in the kingfisher family, you've got two types of kingfishers. One that feeds off fish, and the other one that feeds off insects and frogs and those kind of things. But this one that we're seeing now is primarily a fish feeder. They will grab frogs every now and then, but most of what they feed on is fish. And I absolutely love these pied kingfishers. They're one of my favorite birds. You often find them hovering above water, trying to go after fish and various other things, and they have this lethal ability to catch all kinds of things. I've watched them here at Chitwa many times and been astounded at how good they are at hunting. It doesn't take long for them to be able to kind of catch what they're looking for. Now, you can sex pied kingfishers because the male and female are different. The problem is at the moment is that this kingfisher is facing the wrong way, so you cannot sex one from the back. It's very, very difficult to do so. The way that you need to sex them is from the front, and how you do that is basically with pied kingfishers, you've got a situation where your male, he wears a bow tie, so he's got a black little marking around his throat, and then he's got a belt on as well, so he's all prepped for his night out with his lady friend. He's got his belt and his bow tie, whereas the female, well, she's been very well behaved and she's got her underwear on and is wearing just a bra, and she doesn't have a belt though, so she's just got one little stripe around the neck, and that's how I always remember it. It's much easier if you remember it with some little ways like that. So difficult to say which one this is. Could be a male or a female, but judging by the amount of white around the back of the head, it looks as though, I mean, it's difficult to say. It could be a male, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to wait until it turns around. So Kirst thinks I'm very odd because of the way that I remember with how to tell a male and female kingfisher apart. But there it goes, flying off towards the water. Did it grab something? It went down towards the water. And let's see. No, it's now flying across towards the crocodile. It's landed on the bank where the crocodile is. There it is. Let's see if we can see. Did it get a fish? It looks like it's shaking its head. It did get a fish. Look, there's a fish wiggling in its mouth. Right, I'm going to try and get around there so we can get a little bit closer. Sorry, Sense. I want to try and just get a bit closer. It's on the other side of the dam, so hopefully it doesn't swallow it before we get there. Often they'll beat the fish and they try and subdue it. So I'm just going to try and get around quickly. Hold on. Hopefully it doesn't fly away and doesn't swallow the fish before we get there, but I think it got a fish for sure, because it seems as though there was something kind of flapping in its mouth, and so maybe there's a little fish in there. Now they'll target, much like the green-backed herons that we had here the other day, they're going to target similar kind of things, like small bream species. They'll also target all kinds of other little fish that we get here. Now I'm going to stop here because I don't want it to fly away. Oh no, it doesn't have anything in its beak. Maybe it swallowed it already. But it was worth a try to try and get around in time. And now we can actually tell if it's a male or a female. So it looks like a female. You see, she's just got the black line around her throat, whereas the male would have a little black line all the way around his sort of midriff area. So it's a little female that we've got there, which is very cool. Unfortunately, no fish though, but it's still watching. You see, it's still eyeing out the water, so it's worth staying with this kingfisher for a little bit just to see what happens. I absolutely love watching kingfishers hunt, but like I say, particularly the pied kingfisher, because sometimes what it'll do is it'll either hunt off a perch like this, where it will then come down towards basically the water and grab fish, or it will fly up into the air and then it sits and it hovers for quite some time. And while it's hovering, then it will work out the sort of refraction and work out the angle that it needs to dive in, and then it comes flying down, uses that beak to break the water surface tension, and then plunges in and basically spears that fish, and then out again, and it goes and lands and is able to then feed off it. It really is amazing to watch them hunting, so it's worth just watching and definitely looking into the water as if to say, where are you, little fish? And we had such a crazy sort of experience with the greenbacked heron that it's worth showing a bit of patience with the little kingfisher. In all of these places, it's always good when you're watching birds, or even at dams like this, it's the name of the game at a waterhole is always patience. Patience always allows you to find interesting things, and so if you just sit for long enough, things will happen around you. There's just so much life that is bursting all over the place here that if you just, like I say, wait and look around and are observant enough, there will be something incredible happening everywhere. And Chitwa Dam has absolutely been a little gem this last couple days, or last I'd say 2 weeks. We have had so many incredible sightings all around the dam. We've been absolutely spoilt, and it's just not stopping. It seems as though the drier it's getting and the hotter it's getting, the more Chitwa Dam is producing, and the more we're seeing amazing things. It seems to be getting a bit fidgety, our little kingfisher. Are you going to fly off anytime soon? I don't know. It's obviously a popular spot just to the behind that kingfisher. There's a small tree that is growing there, and if you look on the bank behind the kingfisher, there's a lot of dung that is on that bank, and it's white little spots. So I think there's obviously a bird that is roosting in that tree above the kingfisher somewhere. So you might find something like a greenbacked herons in there, or maybe some of the thickneys or lapwings or something is in that area and defecating off the bank. But how cool was that? I was so excited. I thought for a second we had our kingfisher with a little fish in its mouth, but unfortunately maybe we just didn't get around fast enough and get it on cue. But anyway, it was still good to see and good to try and kind of check. And there's our crocodile. It does look like it's missing a tip of a tail, so I think it is Boris. So Boris, I think, is the one with the missing tip, if I'm not mistaken. And no, some of you will know better than I do, but hashtag Safari Live if you know if it's Boris or Vlad that's got the missing tip. I think it's Boris. Anyway, we're going to sit at Chitwa Dam for a lot longer. There's lots going on here. It's always a great place to sit, and so while we enjoy the crocodile and the fish, kingfishers and hippos, let's go back to Scotty D and see what he's up to in the Mara.
Well, I'm very, very happy that you got to see the pied kingfisher successfully hunting. It's one of the greatest things you can watch, I feel, as is a magical sunset. And this certainly, I think it's fair to say, is certainly quite a magical scene. Beautiful. After not having any of the sun out the whole afternoon, for it to have worked its way through a crack in the clouds to provide us with these beautiful views, I'm very, very grateful for. Now, that is the southern edge of the Olololo escarpments. I'm told that is actually in Tanzania, off to the west of us. And before the light fades completely, I do just want to try and creep up into that spot that I was telling you guys about a bit earlier. So let's keep hustling. Much beauty. It's just round the corner here. Oh no, I think I'm actually a little bit confused as to where I am. I think it may be around one or two more corners before we get to it. But it's somewhere up ahead here, and there's a little two-track that takes you in right to the Mara River, right to the water's edge. There's a steep cliff, but you get as close to the water as possible. And maybe we'll get lucky and find a leopard slinking through there. I'm almost certain there's a decent population of leopard that will stick to this thick forested area where there's lots of trees where they can escape the high lion numbers of the Mara. and I think they just decide not to venture out into the more open areas in the fear that if they do get caught by lions, they'll have nowhere to escape to. Whereas with all these beautiful big trees, I think we could possibly get lucky and find one here. I've had very few sightings of leopards during my time in the Mara. That's certainly not to say that they aren't here. It's just I haven't been very fortunate, and or I've been just looking in the wrong areas. Alrighty then. Great. Well, we're going to continue trying to find that spot that takes us to the water's edge. And while we do that, we will send you back to Tristan, who was already at the water's edge.
I am indeed, and I'm watching a poor fish eagle being absolutely hounded by some blacksmith lapwings. It's trying to have an afternoon drink, and it just keeps getting dive bombed and lambasted by these blacksmith lapwings. And I think the blacksmith lapwings must have chicks or eggs close by. Blacksmith lapwings know that fish eagles can potentially be dangerous to their young, so it's poor fish eagle. You see it keeps getting absolutely hit on by all these birds. They all kind of dive in there, and you can see they go straight for its head, and every now and then the poor fish eagle has to flinch. It's not able to actually have a drink in peace, which I feel sorry for it at the end of the day. It must be horrible to be the predatory bird out here, because when you're around water, everybody has a go at you, which is not so pleasant. But what I think we're going to try and do is just get a little closer, because it's very far away for Senzo. So I want to try and just get a little bit closer to the fish eagle. You can see it's right on the other side of the dam. And so while it's being dive bombed and kind of birds are going at it the way that they are, we might as well go and have a little look. Now hang on a second before we go. There's a little pied wagtail that's flying. I thought maybe it was one of the cuckoos that was flying. Oh no, there goes the fish eagle. The fish eagle's decided enough of that and has gone up into the tree, unfortunately. That's not what I was hoping for. But while we're here, we might as well have a little look at our weaver nests and just see how they're doing, because the weavers were hard at work a few weeks ago, but I think that they are now potentially finished with their nests, and there could be little chicks inside here if a snake hasn't already gotten in. Sorry, little three-banded plover. I just want to see. So you can see the nests are all pretty quiet now. The amount of activity that we have in comparison to what we had a few weeks ago is all died down. Earlier we used to have lots of sort of frenzy of activity of the males building and lots of noise, whereas now you can see the nests are all kind of complete. They're quite dry, and so in there I would imagine would be little chicks already, and females, if not chicks, females sitting on eggs and are just kind of incubating what's going on. So it'd be nice to know if there are eggs in there. When they do hatch, we might get a situation where we might be able to even hear noise from them, but it's all quite quiet. The problem with this particular set of nests is I think it's very susceptible to a predator in terms of a snake. Now what happens here is it's right up against the bank. A snake can easily get into this tree, and things like a boomslang or a vine snake would happily go up into the tree, go along the branches, and then into the nest themselves, and then grab all the chicks as it does. The only saving grace that this tree has is that it's got two other species of birds that are nesting here besides the weavers. So the one is the buffalo weavers, which are on the back side of this, and the other one, which is camouflaged within there, is a hardy-dar. And I can actually see that the hardy-dar is sitting on its nest at the moment. So straight in the middle of your frame there, Sens, is a big thick nest. There you go. It's very difficult to see, but inside there, behind all of those trees, is a little hardy-dar ibis that's sitting on its nest itself. So between the hardy-dar and the buffalo weavers, those are going to also deter things like snakes coming into this area and starting to kind of hunt around these nests and trying to raid them. The hardy-dar in particular would be able to deal with quite a big snake by harassing it and kind of pecking at it. And so actually it's not the worst place for these guys to spend a bit of time. Now I'm going to just try and see if maybe I can get a better view on the hardy-dar, Senzo. Hold on, let's try, because Senzo is battling to be able to see the hardy-dar, and I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but it's all so many things to look at and so many birds to see that it's quite nice to kind of get into a situation where we can actually stop and see all of these things. I'm a little bit like a squirrel when I get into places like this, because there's so much to look at and so much to see that it's difficult not to. There we go, Senzo. Can you see inside there now? You should be able to see the little hardy-dar ibis that is just in between. There it is. How cool is that? And you can see its little nictitating membrane, and so it's most definitely still sitting on chicks and still kind of waiting for those eggs to incubate and hatch. I think once it's been there for a while, then we'll find a situation where we might start to see the little ones, and it's going to be great to monitor this particular hardy-dar nest and see. Maybe imagine when we sit here and the chicks are up and moving, and this hardy-dar is going back and forth with all kinds of insects that it can then feed the chicks. It's going to be wonderful to watch what goes on, but how it gets in there, I'm not quite sure. It's very, very difficult. I suppose it must come in from the other side. The other side looks a little bit more open, but that's what I'm talking about when I say that there's going to be a bird that's going to help defend these nests. That would be one of them. But isn't that cool? It's amazing. It's camouflage. It's very difficult to see that without if you didn't know it was there, you would easily drive past it. And in fact, it was VM that spotted this nest a few weeks ago when we were sitting watching the weavers, and he saw it when we were kind of just driving past. So we can thank VM for our little nest of hardy-dars, and I can't wait actually, like I say, until there's little chicks there, because it's going to be amazing to watch. Now I can hear a Diedrich cuckoo calling from somewhere in this general vicinity. I see there's a bird sitting on top of a tree there, so I just want to have a little look before I tell Senzo to go there. No, it's not that one. There's someone in the tree. The yellow ones, those are the weavers. So Senzo spotted all of our village weavers that are bouncing around. There you go, you see lots of them there, and they're all having a bit of a go at each other as they sort of sort their neighbors out, and everybody gets to the right nest and make sure that they don't go into the wrong places and cause havoc amongst one another. But I can't see this Diedrich cuckoo. It's calling close by, but I just can't find it. I'll have a look around. Nope, no Diedrich cuckoo that I can see. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Right, what else can I try and find at Chitwa Dam? I think let's have a little look quickly and see if there is the jacana on its nest as well, because there's another little bird that often sits on a nest close by. Lots of nesting birds here at the moment. It's wonderful. I'm absolutely loving seeing all of these. I must actually go check on our little plover chick, because that's going to be quite cool. Hopefully our little plover chick will be around. I don't think our jacana is home today, unfortunately. So there's the nest that I was talking about. This nest on top there in the middle of the water is where a jacana often sits. Maybe it is sitting on top there. There does look like there might be something on the back side of it. So we'll just have a little look there. And lovely Laurie, you want to know how deep a fish eagle will dive in order to catch fish. The answer to that is not very deep at all. The thing about fish eagles is most of what they catch is just on the surface. So they come down and they basically come down with their talons out, and they just grab the fish that is sitting just below the surface of the water, and they'll target particularly something called a catfish. And the catfish, the reason why is because it breathes water, and so it often breathes air. So it will come up, gulp air, and then it will sit just below the water surface, and that fish can then come in and grab them and then go off. The problem is sometimes catfish are too big, and the fish eagle kind of has eyes too big for its tummy, and as it comes down it grabs, and it's too heavy to fly away, and then you'll find that the fish eagle actually has to swim itself all the way to the shore, which is obviously very dangerous if there are crocodiles. Now, talking about crocodiles, we have both our crocs here today, which is the first time that I've seen the two crocs in a very, very long time in the same place on the bank. So we've got Boris on this side, and then Vlad is all the way on the other side. Now we know Vlad is actually a girl, and Vlad has got her little ones, but I think that's Vlad on the other side. It looks like Vlad. It looks like the really big croc. And it's interesting because whenever I used to work at Chitwa, that was where this big crocodile always used to hunt. Just to the left of that, you can see that there is a massive kind of bay section, and the bay section is where this crocodile used to go after food. So just to the left of the croc, you see there's a little reed section, and what it does is it goes into that bay and it pushes its whole body sideways into it, and it uses the width or the length of its body and its tail, and it slowly pushes into that corner, and all the fish get crawled into it. And as the fish get pushed up into the shallower water, so they lose their kind of patience, and they get a bit fearful of being pushed onto land, and they then come popping out and trying to jump over the crocodile, and the crocodile then just lashes out and just grabs fish after fish after fish. It is absolutely amazing to watch and to witness, and I've loved every second of seeing it. Now, before we go over to Noel, who's been having a good time, there's a bird sensor. If you can just put it on camera for me, that's just on the edge of the water. So I know I'm jumping around with our birds, but I don't recognize this individual from far like this. Now, no, don't fly away, because I was just about to look at you. Oh, goodness. It looks like one of the sandpiper species, but I can't see nicely. Has it got an upturned beak and yellow legs? It does look like it. It looks like maybe a green shank, but I'll have to just double check. If maybe some of you can get a screenshot for me and tag me in it, I'll be able to have a little look later. I'm battling to see it on the screen, but it does have a look like it's got a little upturned beak, which the green shank doesn't have. So I'm quite interested just to have a little look at which sandpiper this is, or if it is a green shank itself. But while we kind of figure out what bird it is, let's go back to Noelle and see how she's enjoyed putting her feet up on the couch at Final Control.
Tristan, you wish I was putting my feet up at Final Control. Yes, the gremlins have not been kind to Jandre and I. We've been up and down and around and around. But for now, you're with us, which is good. It's a lot cooler than when we started out earlier today. Found some nice hyena tracks. Done a little bit of birding. Sadly, nothing we can really share with anyone. Currently, at the moment, we are moving through sort of Shadow's area. I have not seen Shadow yet. I would love to see Shadow and her almost subby, still I guess we would call cub. Let's call it a juvenile for now. But we're not getting any luck there. The amount of hyena activity, however, is good. So with this up and down with the hyena tracks, it's possible that she's in here somewhere with a kill. But unless I physically see her or find a drag mark or find her tracks, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, which many of you all are familiar with. So yeah. Oh, there's a dove. Really, you're gonna fly away before I can put you on camera? So doves and pigeons are not aerodynamically correct. They have fat little bodies, so they have a hard time flying. So when they fly up and off, they have to do wingtip to wingtip, top to bottom, and do it long enough and hard enough to get their fat little bodies going. There are lion tracks. I don't think they're super fresh. I think they're probably a day or two old, but we haven't done lion tracks. Well, not with me. We did do lion tracks the other day, Jandre. We did the whole sequence, but let's have a look at this beautiful male lion track. Going to get out of the sun's way. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 lobes like we've discussed, and 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. No claws showing. Lion and leopard tend not to show their claws. Cheetahs show their claws often, well, always. You'll see claws showing with lion and with leopard when they slip in the mud. That's a really good one. Now if we look just behind, so we had this beautiful track here. If we look just behind, you'll notice that this track, here's the pad, here are the toes, is not as, doesn't pop at you. So one of the reasons why is this is the front foot, this is the back foot, and it's soft sand, very soft sand, and this lion, male lion, was walking at a very quick walk, so it's pushing the sand back onto his front track. Now, one of the reasons why I'm saying this is not super fresh and from a couple of days ago is, let me give you an example. Okay, so we've got our lion tracks. I'm going to put a track just to their right. Okay, this is a very fresh track. This is a track, obviously I've just made it, so you can see the difference between the detail on that track and the detail on this track. Now, with my track, I'm going to show you what it's going to look like after it's been weathered. So that's wind. You can barely see the detail now. So that's the similar weathering that would happen over, look, it could happen in just an afternoon if it was windy enough, but in a day or two. Okay. I'm not really seeing too much else that's going to pop out nicely for us. I was really hoping, oh, here's a really nice hyena track. It's also an older one. But this shows really clearly the claw marks. There's a claw mark there, and then claw mark, and then a little claw mark, and it shows really nicely the two lobes at the back. This was made when it was wet. Jean-Louis, when did it rain? 2 days ago. Yesterday. So this would have been after the rain. And then this one here, this is the front track, and then right here is the back track. Tiny, tiny, about half the size in comparison. These ones you'll never see track on track. Hyenas walk like they're drunk. They put 1 foot, and then 1 foot, and then 1 foot, and then 1 foot, and sort of meander down. If you see them track on track, it will have more to do with maybe stopping and then turning, or it's another hyena that's on top of it. Okay. Let's head back in, plug back in, so Kirst can speak to me, or you all can speak to me, since we haven't had a chance to chat today. It's going to be a beautiful sunset. It's not too cloudy, just cloudy enough to make it pretty. So if these male lion tracks were fresh, they were heading the opposite way we're driving, I would have turned around, we would be tracking them. But because they're 2 days old, and then this morning we could hear lions. It's not worth us trying, but if I pick up something more fresh, I definitely will start tracking it. We're going to head back to Tristan. I don't quite hear what he has, but I'm sure it's fabulous. Tristan always sees fabulous things, and we'll see you shortly.
Well, we do, but it's not so much me, it's just Chitwa Dam. Chitwa Dam has produced so many nice things for us, and it's now producing an absolute almost oil painting shot of the sky with the clouds kind of rolling past. And these are odd clouds that we've got coming in. They're very kind of ominous. I feel like we might get a storm at some stage in the next couple days. But what we have found is my favorite little bird here at Chitwa Dam, which has given us so many, well, an amazing afternoon the other day, and it's in the same spot again. So I wonder if we're going to get a repeat performance, because our green-backed heron is sitting just on the edge here in the nice, beautiful light, and it's just sitting, waiting slowly. So I wonder if it's going to do a bit of hunting like it did the other day. It was creeping around in the same area hunting. It seems to be just sitting for now and kind of taking in the scenery and not doing too much, but I have a funny feeling that at some stage soon it is going to start its kind of hunting schedule for the afternoon, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see it going after some sort of fish. They really are amazing birds to watch, and it definitely, if it's sitting on the edge of the water like this in the open, it is in a situation where it is starting to look for food. It is the time of day that we know that they go after food. A lot of the time, because of the predatory nature of something like a catfish, that tends to hunt a lot in the low light hours. And they kind of push all of these fish right up against the shallows, and the shallows then become a hot spot at around sunset, and that's why the little heron kind of skulks around. And you can see, look how it just sneaks. It's so like a cat in the way that it goes hunting. I love watching these birds, little tail flicking, and you see it kind of looks at the water, and then it skulks around and looks and checks, and then it gets low down, it drops its head and kind of gets really close to the water. Look at that, kind of just like trotting along. It almost looks like a little bit like a thief in the night, and then it starts to get very close to the water, and it sneaks in and it watches carefully. Now there is a lot of chop on the water from a bit of wind that's kicked up in the last little bit, and I think that's going to make it a little tougher for this heron to see what's going on. Although the other day when it did catch those fish, it had the same situation. There was a bit of a wind blowing, and so maybe it's going to try and work its way around to a little bay where there's a bit of a sort of strut of land coming out, and that might kind of make it a little easier for it to see. But it amazes me how they move. Like I say, it is so cat-like in so many ways. They kind of get themselves low and they kind of sneak forward, and then they sit and they watch and they look, and then they take in what's going on, and they analyze and assess exactly like a leopard would do, and then off they go again. And it is amazing to watch them, because you just never know when they're going to strike out. They sit a little bit away from the edge of the water, so they're not right in the water itself, and then they come flying in, they run, and they dart that head forward, and they try and grab whatever is around. And the light on it as well at the moment is just perfect. So if it did hunt now, we'd be in the perfect place. Now, It is that time of the afternoon where our schools will be joining us, so it is a very, very, very warm welcome to J.W. Gertz, who has joined us this afternoon, and I hope that you guys are going to have a wonderful time with us over the next little bit as we explore Africa and all of the amazing animals that occurs here. And remember that this is interactive, so you can ask lots and lots of questions through your teacher. Just ask your teacher and she'll send the questions through. Now, I've almost forgot to introduce myself, which would be very rude. So my name is Tristan, and on camera I have Senzo as well. Now, it's not just me out here at the moment. There is another member of our team that would like to introduce himself, and Scott is all the way on the other side of Africa in Kenya, in the Masai Mara Game Reserve, in the beautiful open grasslands, and he's very keen to say hello.
Masai Mara for all the kids at J.W. Girth in Ontario, Canada. It is wonderful to have you on safari with us, and we've got lucky. We've just found this big male lion and two of his partners, and I'm hoping that they're going to start roaring for us. I heard one of them let off a little bit of a little bit earlier, and hopefully they're going to continue to wake up and hopefully start roaring. It's one of the most incredible things you can hear, and we're very close to them, so we'll be able to have some great audio of them. My name is Scott, and I'm teamed up with Jahawi on camera. These three male lions, you've seen two of them, there's another one lying off to the left here, are the dominant males of this area, and this is a spot where they really do like to hang out. It's dark here. We're in a different time zone to where Tristan is and where Noel is, who you'll meet a little bit later. So we're using infrared lights at the moment. The animals can't see any light being shone, nor can we, but the camera picks up the light. That's why you can't see in any color right now. It's not quite dark yet, but it's probably in the next 10 or 15 minutes going to become pitch black. Over there you can still see a little bit of light in the clouds. Had a beautiful sunset about half an hour ago. But now darkness is setting in, and it's time for the lions to hopefully start doing their business. They do sleep for very long periods of time, 16 to 20 hours every single day, and they typically tend to move more at night time. It's not to say they only move at night, but it's more likely that they will. It's a beautiful still evening here. Not a breath of wind. And it seems like they've calmed down for now, so I don't think they're going to roar just yet. If they do, we'll be sure to rush you back to this vehicle so that you can hear. But for now, we're going to send you across to Noel.
Welcome to a beautiful sunset in South Africa. I know that Scott's already in the dark. We are looking at the golden orange, almost sherbety colors over the Drakensberg Mountains. I want to welcome the J.W. Garth School. My name is Noelle. We're happy to have you with, and I believe we're talking to a science class at the moment. I'm wondering, are you guys doing any geology so far in your science class? Because if you are, we can talk a little bit about what type of rocks we could see around here, or soil, and also a little bit maybe about the sun and the sunset and the clouds, but you must let me know. Remember, we are interactive. You can send me questions. I will do my best to answer them. I won't have all the answers, but some will be there. It's really calm, really still evening at the moment. It's a little bit cool. Not as cold as it has been though. A little bit more warm. Oh, quick link to Scott's with his lions. Let's go.
To roar, at least one of them has. He's just warming up. It's not nearly as loud as it can be. Let's hope the others join in. Is that all you've got, boy? It's fine. You've just woken up. Take your time. we will consider that a warm-up round. As for your two friends, they weren't interested in singing along, sadly. But it's definitely good prospects, and hopefully a little bit later. Oh, did you see that lightning flash in the background there? Let's see if we don't get another flash. There we go. Lots of lightning down, or out to the west rather. And it is that rainy time of the year. Much needed rain is falling in this area, and what a beautiful scene. Sorry to rush you guys away from Noel, but like I said, lions roaring is one of the most incredible things you could ever wish to hear, and I really would love you guys in Ontario to hear them roaring, especially because we're so close, and there are 3 of them. It sends shivers down my spine every single time I hear lions roaring. Come on. We know you can give us more than that. Let's see, he's going to go and say hello to his friend. Okay, well, it looks like he's going to walk straight past his friend. So we're going to wait for them to get a little bit more awake and hopefully ready to roar a bit louder for all of you. And while we do that, we are going to send you across to Tristan, who has a treat for you.
I do indeed. Look what we've got. We've got the biggest, largest animal that occurs on land here. It's a big herd of elephants that is coming down, and they're going to have their afternoon drink, and they are all around us. It is absolutely beautiful. So we've got elephants in front with the beautiful afternoon colors, and then elephants to my right. So the whole herd is now coming past, and they're going to have a really nice drink for the afternoon here. It's going to be wonderful. Here you can see the rest of them just on my right hand side, and they're right in front of us. It is so cool to see as they come past. Look at how amazing this is. So it's a big herd. It's all females and the babies all together. They're coming past quickly because they're thirsty. They want to get food. You can see the dam wall is a bit of a challenge for some of them. They've got to climb over, but not too bad for most of them. It's so cool. Remember, you can ask lots of questions if you want to know about the Ellies, and just remember to ask your teacher as you do. Now I'm going to reposition us quickly because they are going to drink, and if we position in the right way, we're going to see them drinking so nicely. But look at the beautiful colors and the elephants walking. How cool is this? So we were going to try and see if we could find something else while we were sitting and we were looking at some of the birds, and then we just spotted these ellies coming from a while away, and so I thought it would be a perfect thing to stop and have a look and show you. And it's going to be absolutely amazing because they're all lining up for a big drink, and it's just bottoms. Look. That's so cool because normally you don't see this, but there are their bottoms as they're drinking, and there's the lodge in the background. So this is a lodge where people come and stay to come and see the animals, and this dam is the best place for elephants. How beautiful is that with all their bums? And you can see they jostle for space and they all try and find the best place to have a look. But it's a nice size herd. This is pretty much the average for what we see here in the Kruger Park. We generally see herds of about this size, and you can see the beautiful clouds being stretched out in the background as well. It is an absolutely wonderful scene. Now I'm not going to stay here for too long because as much as I like seeing their bottoms, it would be nice to watch them drink, because watching them drink is very interesting. You've got a situation where they use their trunks to suck water up and then spray it into their mouth, and so I'm going to try and get around so that I can show you that. Caitlin, you're asking why they're staying all together, but it's because elephants are very tightly knit family group. So what that means is that they don't like to be apart from one another. It's like you like to be with your mom and your dad and your brothers and sisters. It's the same with the elephants. They like that too. They want to be together, and so when they come and drink, all the herd is together. The little babies are put in together to be able to make sure that they're safe in case something like a crocodile is around. Oh, look at how beautiful this is. That is as good as it gets. Look at them all lined up having a really nice drink. It is absolutely beautiful. And you'll find, like I say, that the little ones, they kind of get pushed in between all the big adults, between all the moms, and the moms then make sure that the little babies are protected. Because remember, there are crocodiles here. There's some very, very big crocodiles that would be able to go after the babies, and so moms all protect them, and they line up like this because there's space for them to drink. So everybody finds their own little space, and then they start to suck up. Now, elephants can drink a lot of water. They are animals that need a lot of water because they lose water and moisture through the amount of dung that they defecate. So they basically make a lot of poos every single day, and they can poo about 100 kilograms or 200 pounds a day, and so they require a lot of water. And you'll find these big elephants will be drinking a lot throughout the day, and each sort of trunkful they're sucking up a few gallons and then spraying it into their mouths. Now their trunk, even though they breathe through it, is a great straw. So it basically, they put it in, they suck, and then it goes all the way up to where you see the tusks, and where the tusks are, there's a membrane, and the membrane seals and stops the water going past that membrane and into their lungs, and then they squirt it out with their trunk. They push and exhale water, and it then comes out, and they are then able to drink that water. Now you can see a little male is coming in now. He's joining. So males tend to be right at the back. They're naughty. They like to play around, and the young boys only come in later. And you see when the young boys come, the females get a little bit nervous and kind of watch what's going on. Isabella, you're asking how much the adults weigh. Well, Isabella, an adult male elephant can weigh as much as 12,000 pounds. So it can be very, very, very heavy, whereas a female elephant, she normally weighs about 8,000 pounds. That's about how big she is. But what you're going to see is all of the elephants are going to come past us. So I'm going to just keep my voice down a little bit because I don't want to stress the elephants. I want the ellies to feel comfortable with us. I want them to come past and be happy with our sort of presence, and so it's going to be great to be able to have them just walking past. Now you'll see what they're going to do is they're going to sit and just sniff around and watch us. Oh, look at the little baby. It wants to try and suckle from its mom. Very cool. I'm going to keep quiet as they come past so you can hear their footsteps, because it's amazing to hear their feet as they walk. You would think for a big animal like this that they would make a lot of noise, and they would... Okay, girl, where do you want to go? I'm just going to go back because she wants to come along the edge of the water and I'm in her way. I thought she was going to go behind me, so now I'm just going to open a little space for her. Watch, she'll stop. You see how the whole herd stops, and they wait for this female to tell them that they can then move on. As soon as she's happy that there's a bit of space, she'll start coming past, and the rest of the elephants will all come as well, and they'll all kind of file past. So she's saying that she wanted me just to move a little bit. So you could see as I move back, she's now calming down again. She's going down to drink. So obviously she wanted to come into this area. The rest of the ellies are waiting just to see what this lead female does, and the reason why is they know that in this structure or in this herd there is a matriarch. So what a matriarch means is it's basically the boss of all of these elephants. It's like the headmaster of your school, and that means that this elephant... Don't spray water at me, no, that's naughty. So she's busy spraying water at us at the moment, and she makes the decision. So she decides, okay, where are we going to go, what are we going to drink, what are we going to eat, and so the rest of the herd has to wait for her to be able to then move and make the decisions. And once she's happy and she's relaxed, then the rest of the elephants will start coming past. But isn't this just the most special thing? To be surrounded by big elephants is just the most wonderful experience. I can't explain how amazing these animals are. Come on, guys. Oh, this elephant is spraying all of its friends as well. Now, Aiden, you're wondering how much water they can fit into their trunk at a time. So they can fit about 8 liters at once. Now, I'm not sure how much that is in gallons. Maybe, Kirsty, if you can just help me with gallons to liters. But it's 8 liters at a time. And you can see, look, now they're slowly coming past. She's still spraying water everywhere. She's being a little naughty. They do this sometimes when they have lots of water around, like in a big pan. And you'll find that it's kind of quite interesting to watch. Oh, everybody's jostling for position. Right, I believe Scott is still with his lions and they're about to make lots and lots of noise. So let's quickly jump across to him and see what they've got to say.
I can hear the other lions. They were still roaring. roaring after that one stopped. They gave it a full go there. Sadly, you missed the best part of it, but it sounds like you are having an incredible time with Tristan and that herd of elephants. Can you believe it? Try to spray him with some water. Now, it'll possibly be another few minutes before they roar again, so if the action's still good with the Ellies, it may be worth sending you back there, but I'm just listening carefully. I thought I may have heard some other lions roaring, but I was imagining things. Now it appears that he is being frustrated by reproductive termites, winged termites that are flying all around him, and that's what's bothering him. He probably thinks it's flies, but it's not. It's just the reproductive termites that are emerging. Aidan, you would like to know how lions communicate with one another when they're very far away from each other. And it all depends. We turned off our light because of all those termites were actually coming to the car from the bright lights. And their roar travels very, very far. You only heard it calling softly there towards the end of their call. But usually, when it's really very loud, even our ears can hear it up to 5 miles away, and our hearing is not nearly as good as theirs. So other lions can possibly hear from 10 or 15 miles, maybe even 20 miles away. They can possibly just pick up the calls of other lions. So that's one way that they communicate with other lions that are far away. Another way that they communicate is by leaving messages, and they do that by peeing on bushes, and by doing that, it leaves a message as to who was around, who was in town. If any of the girls are looking for boyfriends, they'll leave a message in their pee that they spray on bushes. So when another lion passes in the next few days, or maybe even a week later, they can smell that bush and realize who's been around. So it's kind of like picking up notes that they get pinned on trees, essentially. That's how the lions do a lot of their communicating as well. Good. Oh, look at that lightning. Crazy. Huge bolts. Oh. Are they going to roar again? They might. He let off a few soft calls there, but the others didn't join him. I know you'd like to know how old can lions get. Well, a male lion will be lucky if he lives to about 12 years of age. That's a very good innings for male lions. Usually they become dominant. They become the owner of several prides when they're about 5 or 6 years old. That's when their mane starts becoming quite big. Not fully impressive and not fully grown, but that's when they start trying to fight with other males and get a territory of their own. And once they get their territory, there'll be other prides of lioness that live within that territory with them. And they'll usually be dominant for about 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years if they have a good innings. And then they'll be kicked out by young males, and then they'll go into retirement where they just kind of cruise around on their own. They won't have any girlfriends anymore, and they'll just, oh, let's see if this one's here, if we can see it. I think they might start roaring again. Because the other one who walked off let off a few calls, and usually the others will join in. But they clearly still quite sleepy, not as raring to go as the one individual. So yeah, Aidan, anywhere between kind of 10 and 12 years of age would be a good age for a male lion. Lioness can live for a little bit longer. They don't have as much fighting in their life, and they can also get looked after by their pride and the young lioness that are growing up in their pride once they become old. So the lioness will usually live for maybe a couple of years more than the males. Maybe 13 or 14 years would be a very good innings for a lioness. Hello, Melody. You would like to know how big are lions' teeth? Well, their canines will be about 1.5 to 2 inches long. They can be very, very long, the canines. Are they roaring again? I'm getting confused. I think they might get going properly again now. The one guy's giving it a good go. This guy looks like he's fast asleep. Come on. Well, that is one of the greatest joys of being on safari. Often the animals don't do exactly what the textbooks tell you, and sometimes their behavior is just bizarre, and you can't quite understand why one of them is calling and the others don't want to join in, because most often they do. Very good. We're going to send you back to Tristan before those elephants leave the waterhole.
Well, they are starting to leave now. They've just had a little drink, and a few of them are still having a few sips, but everybody is just finishing up, and they're going to now start going off and starting to feed again. It is absolutely wonderful, and look at the beautiful colors in the sky as well. Absolutely loving these ellies. Now I'm going to just try and sneak forward a little bit with them, because I want to just try and see if we can just get alongside slightly and watch them if they do drink again. They're all a little bit kind of all over the place. It looks like it's two different herds together, and there's a couple of them that are a little unsure about the others and are a bit wondering why there's others. Nikki, you're wondering why they drink from their trunks and not their mouths. Well, Nikki, they're very, very tall animals, and so it would be difficult to put their mouth into the water. It would be hard for them to get that low. It would take a lot of energy. It's like, imagine if you had to bend over to the tap to drink. If we didn't have cups, it's very difficult. Whereas now, they can just use this long trunk. They can stand, they can be comfortable, they don't have to stretch, and they can just suck water up and put it in their mouth. It's exactly like us using cups or even having a straw for our drinks. It's just more comfortable. And that's why they do it together. And look at these two, they're just having a little play fight together. So it's a female and a male that are just pushing each other, and it's common to see this. This is just the way that they interact. You'll find that this is also how they greet one another. Beautiful to see though. Caitlin, you're wondering how heavy their tusks are. Well, it depends on the size of the tusks. Look, if you look at all these elephants, Caitlin, you'll see that they've all got different sized tusks. Some are very small, some are very long, and you'll depend. But an elephant can have tusks that are absolutely massive. So some of the elephants that we get in the Kruger Park, which is where we are in South Africa, their tusks can go over 100 pounds each tusk, which is absolutely amazing. Now, there is somebody else that is out and about, and so Noelle is around, and she's got a beautiful sunset, and she would like to show all of you.
Watch how quickly the sun goes down. We've been counting down from 20. And it's gone. So that was about 25 seconds it took from the sun to be fully over those mountains to then go down. I know all of you are living in Canada, and especially in the summertime, it stays light very, very late, and it gets light very early in the morning. And it takes a lot longer for the sun to go down. Here in South Africa, when the sun is up, it is up. And when it goes down, it goes down. It's very quick. We're closer to the equator than you are, and that's one of the reasons why that happens. So those mountains that we were looking at when that sun was going down, those mountains were formed over 220 million years ago. It's a huge amount of time. And they were formed when South America, Africa, India, the Falkland Islands, Antarctica, there's two more, Asia, and I'm missing my seventh one. There was seven all stuck together, and then just before it broke up, that was called Gondwana land, and just before it broke up to then form the continents as we know them today, there was a lot of lava, a lot of volcano activity, so there's lava that covered these mountains. So something that's very interesting about here, about why we can see the elephants that Tristan was just showing you, is how those mountains were made. So the underlying part of the mountain was all of the rocks and the debris that was packed like this under really heavy pressure, and then the volcanoes exploded and left that lava on top. It's also known as basalt. And then slowly over time, because of time in general, but also because of wind and weather and what we call erosion, it starts to break down and break down and break down. And then with gravity, we all know about gravity, moving down, and then it's created the bottom layer for this whole habitat that these animals live in. So all the trees we're seeing, the grass that we're seeing, then makes it able for there to be species that can eat here, and then those species are then eaten by other species, and so on and so on and so on. It's really incredible. It's also a very different type of environment that you would be used to. You all have bear where you live. We don't have any bear here. Our predators are things like lion that you saw with Scott, and then we have really large herbivores, so animals that eat leaves and grass, sometimes just one or the other, sometimes both, like the elephants that you saw with Tristan. And for your end, you would have moose. That's a really large herbivore that you would have there. We don't have any moose here. And you would have elk up that side. We don't have elk. We did find some kudu earlier, which roughly the same size as elk, a little bit smaller, a little bit more stripy. And then we get smaller species that would be similar to your deer species. So we get impalas and we have nyalas and all of that. So that is what's amazing about this area. And this area here, because of those mountains, we per hectare, so 1 hectare is roughly about 2.2 acres, can have more species in that small area than anywhere else in South Africa in this low-felled area. So we are going to head back to Scott, who's going to show you what's known as our apex predators, which is a top predator, and we are going to carry on and see if maybe we can find a predator on our side to show you. So heading all the way up to East Africa with its own very...
Our boys are still just relaxing, thinking about what they're going to do, and isn't he an absolute beast? Sleepy beast. I always wonder when they stop and you can see he's listening to something out in the distance, but because they're hearing so much better than ours, and because they can possibly understand a little bit better what the other animals are saying than we can, it'd be very interesting to know how he's thinking about all this information he's getting and how it's going to impact on his evening and where he heads. There's still lots of lightning off on the horizon. Isn't this an incredible scene? A beautiful big male lion and bolts of lightning in the background. Wow. Hi, John. You'd like to know if the animals are afraid of lightning. And I think, yes, some animals are afraid of those loud banging noises, but it's uncommon that any animals will not be exposed to them from a young age. So most wild animals that grow up in areas where there is lightning will start to hear it from a young age. They'll also see their parents' response, and if their parents don't get scared, then they probably won't get scared. What will scare animals more is the weather usually associated with lightning. If it's very windy and rainy, especially the prey animals, they'll be very scared, not so much just from the loud cracks of lightning, but also from all the noise of rustling grass and leaves, because they won't be able to tell the difference whether that leaf is rustling because of the wind or because there is a lion or a leopard approaching. So I don't think they'll be too scared. Like, I don't think they'll be as scared as maybe some of your domestic cats and dogs. Often those animals get very scared, but I haven't seen any wild animals that have shown immediate signs of being scared of the loud cracks of lightning. They'll probably be more scared of the loud roar of this male lion, and I hope he decides to start roaring again. Come on, boy. One last time. Seems like he's got other plans, though. Very good. Well, it sounds like Tristan has got some other visitors coming to visit him at the waterhole. Not quite as big as the elephants, but certainly very fun to watch. Oh, hang on. Here we go. You can hear the others I can literally feel the vibrations coming up my legs. It's incredible. Thanks, buddy. That was just in time. If you were a split second later, we would have had everyone on the wrong vehicle. So thank you. That was absolutely incredible, and I'm so happy that all of us got to hear and witness that very, very special sound of Africa. I hope it sounded as good for you back at home as it did for me here. Now we can send you back to Tristan and his visitors. We're going to leave these lines and see if we can find something else for you before the end of the safari.
Well, our Ellies are all leaving us. They're slowly meandering off. You can see that elephant's going towards the camp. It's going to probably be a naughty elephant and try and go and feed off all of the trees that are in the camp itself. So that's why there's a little fence behind him, is to try and stop him going in there, because he goes in there, then he causes trouble. He eats all of the trees and he breaks things at the lodge, and so they have a fence to stop the elephants going towards the lodge, and also because people need to move around and it's dangerous to have elephants around, and so that's why you're seeing a fence in the background. But that's our young bull elephant that is going. The rest of the elephants have completely disappeared. I can't see any of them anymore, and so we're being left all alone at our dam, and he's busy wandering off into the distance. Now, do you hear that? There was a sound. You hear the sound? Now that sound is for hippos. So there's lots of hippos that are all around at the moment, and they're calling to each other. They're talking, so they're trying to tell each other, I'm here, just checking where everybody is, and they've been in the water all day long. And so they're now going to come out at night and start to feed. And so there you can see their heads. Do you see their heads coming up and down? And so that's because they are now getting to the time of the day where it's time to start coming out of the water. And so they're going to walk towards the edge, and they're going to get out, and then they're going to go and look for food. And that's because hippos, they don't eat fish, and they don't eat anything in the water itself, unless maybe they come across some vegetation that's growing in the water that's on the edge that they can stand up and feed on. But otherwise they like to eat grass, and you'll find them coming out and they'll chomp down on grass all the way through the night, and then come back here in the early hours of the morning to try and then feed. But there are lots and lots of hippos all the way in the corner, and I think there are two tiny baby hippos in the corner, so I want to try and head in that direction. So they're a little bit ahead of us where the elephant walked, and maybe we'll even get lucky and find a crocodile there, because there was a crocodile in that area as well. So let's just go along and have a little look. Maybe we'll get lucky. Ricky and Maddie, you're wondering why the elephants have such big ears. Well, they have big ears because they like to listen, and because they are big animals, they have to be able to cool themselves down. Now, we get very, very hot. We start to sweat. You know that you'll have water that comes off you, and it's called sweating. But in an elephant, they can't do that. And so what they've got to do is they've got an big ear with veins in it. Now the veins have lots and lots of blood, and as they flap their ears, so they put wind over those veins, and it cools the blood in their ear and makes their whole body feel much cooler. And it's much like a aircon or an air conditioning system for an elephant, so it's very clever to have it. Now I'm pretty sure our baby hippos must be here. We have two brand new hippos in this dam. Both of them have been born in the last week, and so I'm hoping there's one already. I can see one just on the right side. So there's mom, and just look, you'll see a tiny little baby hippo come up just now. John, you're wondering, look, there's a little baby. You see how cute it is? Now that baby is only probably about 4 or 5 days old. It's still very young, and it is still staying very close to its mom, and sometimes it even goes on to its mom's back and sits there. Now, John, you were asking how big can a hippo get? Well, a big male hippo, he's going to weigh about 5,500 pounds, so he's going to be very, very, very heavy, and the females, well, they'll weigh a little bit closer to about 4,000 pounds, so a little bit smaller. But look at the little baby, look how cute it is. You see it's going under. I wonder if it's going to get onto mom's back, and we'll see it trying to use its mom to be able to stay up in the water, because otherwise if the water's too deep, it struggles a little bit and it doesn't like to kind of sit underwater for too long. It likes to sit on top of its mother, and so I'm pretty sure we'll see it getting onto its mom's back just now. We just have to keep watching and looking, and I'm sure it will get there. Oh, look here, there's hippos chasing each other. So you see the hippos, there's young hippos chasing each other, and I'm sure maybe they're going to pop out somewhere. It's always good to watch when you see lots of splashing, that generally then the hippos come out, and if they get too close to the mom with the baby, she'll chase them away. She's going to say, you're going to get too close, I don't want you near me, and then she'll push them away from her. But you can see when they fight, lots of water gets pushed everywhere, and it's almost like a big sort of ball was dropped in there, and that's because of how heavy the hippos are. They push a lot of water out, and they kind of make a big mess, and lots of waves and all kinds of other things. And they'll come up just now. A hippo doesn't hold its breath for too long, but they're going to come up a little bit further away from us. You can see a few little bubbles coming up there, and so they should pop up in that area now. And it's because it's this time of the day when the hippos start coming out of water that it's playtime. So now's the time when they're going to have a bit of fun, and the young ones will chase each other and try and push each other around a little bit. And it's very common to see at this time of the night them splashing and chasing and just going a little bit crazy. To be honest, it's playtime before nighttime starts. Now, while I watch my hippos, I believe Noel has found something that is also very, very big, but not in the same way that a hippo or an elephant is. This animal is very tall.
The tallest mammal you will find on land on the whole earth is right in front of us. Now you'll notice our screen is now black and white, so we have switched over to our infrared. So normally you can't watch giraffes at night. It's not quite night, but it's dark enough, because their eyesight is meant for seeing the day. Shame we just got such a wobble there. But with the infrared camera, we can watch him no problem, no issue for him whatsoever. Notice how he's walking, both left feet, both right feet, both left feet, both right feet. It's interesting. It's a gait. I don't know if any of you are horseback riders, but horses have a gait. And that's called a pacing gait with a giraffe. Another animal that would do a similar thing would be a camel, which we get in northern Africa. So we are down in the very, very tip of Africa at the moment, in South Africa. And then if you go farther up east, that's where Scott was, and he's still below the Sahara. And then up in northern Africa, up in Egypt, that's where you would find a camel. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so we were kind of hoping that with this nice weather that a leopard would pop out. So we are going to keep carrying on and looking for you. I know that you've seen some amazing hippos and lions and elephants so far, and now we have our giraffe, and maybe we will get lucky with a leopard. So leopards like to move around when it's cooler, similar to a lion, because they don't sweat like we sweat. We've talked about this over the past couple of days, but you guys are just joining us now. So lion and leopards don't sweat the way that we sweat. They have to pant, similar to if you have a cat or a dog that lives at home. They have to pant to get the heat down. So they don't want to move too much when it's too hot, because they're going to spend too much energy. They want to rest when it's hot, and then when it's nice and cool, they're going to move around. Another thing is like that giraffe we talked about, he can't see at night. The things that leopards eat, like impala and zebra, baby zebra and small kudu and things like that, also can't see at night, but the leopard can. So he's going to move when it makes more sense for it to work for his body, as well as for gaining food. That is what we are up to now. Now sometimes they walk right in the road, right in the middle, and sometimes they're off in the bushes. So we have to look everywhere. Sometimes they're in a tree, sometimes they're down on the ground. Maddie, you were asking how long can a giraffe neck get? That is an interesting question, and in my decade of guiding, I have never been asked that question. Well done. So I can't give you the length of the neck. down to the centimeter, but I could probably guesstimate it's going to be a couple of meters. I mean, a male giraffe can reach almost 7 meters in height. So I'm let's see, what's 7 times 3? 21. So that's 21 foot. So I would guess it would be a couple of meters. Something that's interesting about a giraffe's neck that I can tell you for certain is in their neck, this part here, obviously, the bones that are in there, I don't know if you guys can all feel behind with your neck. You've got bones in there for your spine. Those are neck vertebrae. Giraffes have the same amount that we have. Every mammal, there's 1 or 2 exceptions, have the same amount. Do you all have any idea how many neck vertebrae we have? How many bones in our neck that the giraffe would have the same as? I'll wait for your answers. Okay. Something else that's interesting about the neck, Maddie, is that the necks are very, very heavy. So a giraffe cannot lie down completely on its side. It has to, and it doesn't sleep for very long. They only sleep for about 20 minutes at a go. And it's a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, not 20 minutes all at once. And so when they lie down, they tuck their legs under and then they keep their neck up. Sometimes they put their head back on their back, and sometimes they'll just stay standing and rest like that, and sometimes put their little head in a crook of a tree. All right, any guesses for how many bones in a giraffe's neck yet? No answers yet. We'll keep waiting. I watched once, I know you saw a male lion with Scott. Ooh, Kate, you're thinking 2. Are you thinking really big, Kate? I think that's a good idea. Maybe you're feeling your neck as well. Rachel, you say 4. Ooh, those are all good answers. We're not quite there yet, but you're in the right vicinity. Sasha says 10. All right, so it's between 4 and 10. I'll be nice to you guys today. It's between 4 and 10. Good answers though, you guys are thinking real well. So I was watching a giraffe once. He was standing in the road, similar to how the one we saw just now, but in the road rather than in the bush. And there was a male lion, just one on his own, and he was hidden in a bush. And look, the giraffe was very large like the one we saw just now. So we're looking at sort of 6 meters, maybe a little bit higher. And this male lion, you saw with Scott, they're big, they've got those big manes, but to take down a giraffe, big male giraffe like that on his own is going to be really difficult. And so as this giraffe started to walk past, this lion waited, and then jumped out. But he jumped out just a millisecond too soon. So he jumped and sort of landed in the road and then looked at the giraffe, and the giraffe was looking straight down. It was very funny. All right, so the answer is all mammals have 7 neck vertebrae. And that goes for the giraffe that we saw, that goes for the lions, that goes for us. There's a couple of smaller mammals that have an exception, about 5 or 6, but in general, that's how 7 neck vertebrae. They're a little bit big. Obviously, I mean, a giraffe is going to have big vertebrae, and we're going to have small. Everything's dependent there. All right, thank you from everyone, myself, Tristan, Scott, Taylor, FC, all cameramen. You must enjoy your evening, and thank you for joining Safari Live.